Was it questions or?
And we are live, and I'll address your question just in a second. Let's kick off the broadcast, and you can type maybe in the chat in the meantime. Anyway, so here we are, and this is the third live mSiteLab that we are conducting for you. The first one in English, hopefully going to go great, and we'll get lots of interest from you all. We've had quite a few submissions in advance, and we have selected quite a few websites to take a look at. We have some people in the audience with us already, so that's great. This is Julia. She's an AdWords account manager, and
this is Andrei. He's a webmaster relations strategist.
We'll be looking at the websites that were submitted in advance, trying to provide some practical tips on how to make them a little bit more mobile friendly, a little bit more secure, a little bit more relevant for your users. Hopefully those tips will be interesting for you. The recording will remain on the Webmasters YouTube channel. Those of you watching us live are welcome to maybe leave additional comments or maybe ask questions on the G+ page for this event. I presume that's how you found us. Those of you who've joined, we have 3 guests in the studio right now. That's awesome. You can obviously ask follow-up questions in our chat as well. You're very welcome to do that. And I think Dalibor had a question.
Thank you. I don't have any questions now.
Okay, great, awesome. Well, great having you with us. So, right, let's give it a shot. As I said, we'll start with the websites of the people who are in the studio with us. Dalibor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your website is the japonskapuchka.cz, right?
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, so I'll put it on the screen, share it with everybody else to view, so everybody knows what the hell we're talking about and what's going on. And hopefully we can go from there. Right.
So we're looking at the online loans website. So let's look.
I don't think we had any questions in advance from Dalibor or his colleagues about this website, so I presume you're not really looking to solve any particular issues, but you did leave us a couple of queries that you would be interested in. We'll come back to that in a second, but another thing I should have said in the beginning, we're not going to look at all the issues for all the websites. It's going to get quite boring very quickly, right? So what we're going to try to do is we're going to focus on some issues for every website, on different issues, like hopefully for every website, allowing everybody who's watching us, who's joined us, to understand all the possible things that could be improved, and maybe take a look at them for their website as well, right? So, to be aware of everything that could go wrong, but also to get specific advice for your own website as well. Here, in the sample of the websites that we looked at, it seemed for us particularly interesting to take a look at the page speed load times of the website. Page speed is, on the one hand, one of the ranking factors for Google search. So we do look at a little bit at how fast pages are loading when we're deciding which pages to show to our users in the search results. But that shouldn't be your primary concern. Your primary concern should be that our research, not just our research, shows that users do tend to prefer fast-loading websites, and a lot of the time they abandon websites that don't load or load very slowly. How can you check that? There's plenty of different ways of checking the speed of your website as a whole, or of your pages in particular. One of the tools that we've developed for you is Page Speed Insights. Hopefully you're seeing it on your screens right now. You can enter, it doesn't analyze the whole website, that's important. It analyzes whatever page you give to it. In this case, we started with the home page. By the way, before we dig into the problems and the ways to address them, I want to say we were really impressed overall with the quality of the websites submitted for the site link. The majority of the websites, out of all the 300+ submissions that we had, were really high quality, really interesting. All of them had something unique to offer. So that's really great to see. It's really inspiring. The issues that we find is as I told my colleagues before this began, you can find issues with any website. Any website everywhere always has some sort of an issue. So us addressing particular problems doesn't mean that, oh my God, your website is horrible and it's not going to rank or it's not going to be high quality. The fact that we found an issue doesn't mean that it's in a poor state. It just means that there are some things you could still improve on. And in this case, let's talk a little bit about your speed. In particular, Through this tool, you can check the speed for both desktop and mobile, but we're going to focus primarily on the way this is seen by mobile users. The tool gives you specific recommendations. It gives you a number here, right, which you shouldn't probably pay that much attention to. The more important thing are the three ranges, sort of the red, the orange, and the green. Green being great, orange being not so good, and red being pay attention to this stuff. And then what you also get is you not only get a breakdown of the issues you could fix, but you also get specific recommendations and the gains you will have if you follow these recommendations. For example, the first one we see here is enabling compression. And then you have specific scripts, as you can see. I see I have a couple of images. I see some SVGs here. I see some JavaScripts. In fact, I see your home page here, just the basic HTML on the page. And it tells you exactly how much volume you could save by compressing this. And as you can tell, it's in this particular case, it's over 2.7 megs. Right? On a standard 3G connection, this much data could take seconds to download, potentially dozens of seconds, but at the very least, upwards of 5. This could become a critical make or break point for your users who are just loading this for the first time, who don't have any of your content cached, and have to load all the resources. And there's some fairly easy tricks in at least compressing the JavaScripts. And here you see that the largest gains, the sort of the 1.3 megs and 1.1 megs, the really big gains, come from your JavaScript. And you can look up a few easy tutorials or easy tools to minify your JavaScript online and just use that. You can hide these details and look at a couple of other things that are reasonably easy to use. Let's look at some of the stuff in the orange section, right? For this particular website, it might not be such a big deal, but we're going to see a couple of others today, and in general, a lot of websites, a lot of e-commerce websites use quite a few images on their web pages. So another normally significant element that could bring a lot of economies in size is image optimization. So again, here you don't just get a line saying, oh, go and optimize your images. You get a breakdown of the specific images loading on this page that you could work on to make them slightly smaller, gaining back quite a bit of time in loading the page. So here, these were really some of the key elements that we found for the website that we wanted to talk about. On the plus side, some of the really good stuff, really the sort of the recommendations that you managed to follow quite well. I don't know whether you were reading our recommendations or whether you just did it the right way anyway, but it's great, and I'd like to point this out for other people to think about as well. Is number one, you guys have implemented HTTPS, right? So I know you are a financial service, so it seems like a no-brainer, but you would be surprised how many financial services still don't implement secure connections. It's definitely something that we recommend to everybody who exchanges crucial private data with their users, but also in general to everybody else. It is also great to see, and I'm going to show it to you directly, that you've avoided, so you've chosen a version of your website with the www to appear as the primary one. And when we enter your website without it, it redirects us to the proper www version. So that's an important piece to set up correctly, and you've done it, and that's great. So we see directly in the browser window both that the redirect happens well, and also in Chrome in particular, but also other browsers, you can really easily detect if your certificate for the HTTPS has been detected as valid and correct, right? So if you click on that green section to the left of the address, you'll get some information about the certificate and the connection, and this connection is private. So those two things in particular, setting up the redirects between the different versions of your website and using a secure connection, are really great, and that's really great for your users both on mobile and desktop devices and your users on any kind of device. So unless Dalibor has questions, I think we could move on maybe to the next website. I'm seeing something in chat. No, nothing at the moment. All right. So Don't hesitate, by the way, guys who are with us, don't hesitate to just turn on your mic and ask a question at any point. I think the other website that we had here was the next website that we had here was a Bulgarian website about traveling, astral travels and seeing
Astro Holidays.
Astral Holidays, right?
Beautiful website with beautiful pictures.
Well, you know, the weather isn't so bad in Dublin right now. I don't feel like going anywhere, you know. So we'll see. Where is it? Let me make sure. Astral, yeah, there it was. Let's open it as well. Let's open it the mobile viewer. Okay, great. I did have it open somewhere. Yeah, there, of course, there it is. I did have it open. Right. So also something I didn't mention before, and if you don't understand what the hell am I doing and what am I doing in particular in Chrome, how am I getting this screen? If you haven't seen this before, these are so-called developer tools. You have them in Chrome, you have them in Firefox, you have them in the majority of modern advanced browsers who support this. They allow you to do a lot of very interesting things, but in particular, in this instance, they allow you to emulate the experience of mobile users on your website. So you can launch developer tools, and you can go into a mobile emulator. In particular, here, it's really easy. It's just one click of a button, and you go from a desktop experience to a mobile experience. And without even having a mobile device with you, although I don't know who doesn't these days, you could much more easily sort of look at your website the way a mobile user would. So I highly recommend getting familiar with this, even if you're not a developer, even if you're just a website owner or the marketing specialist for the website. This gives you a great opportunity to see what changes in your mobile experience are happening and how they're happening and so on. So the first thing that strikes me, and again, this emulator is not perfect, so you might want to double check this particular issue on a mobile, on an actual smartphone. But I mean, Julie, if you look at this, this is slightly weird, right? What we see on the home page, right? So we don't really see the content of the website.
Just the menu, that you have.
Right. So maybe you want to take a look at that from a usability point of view. Again, it's not a major thing that's going to affect your ranking or anything, but it's definitely something I would try to figure out. Why is it displayed like this? Why is all of your content pushed below the fold, below the first screen? Right. So something to keep in mind. And again, as I said, checking the way your website works on an actual smartphone or even in the emulator is definitely something you need to do now and again, just to make sure that you avoid silly small things like this. We have a couple of other things, right, that we've noticed about this particular page. So I'm going to reload it once again just to make sure that we're not missing anything. I'm thinking, right, that on the second load, we actually got redirected to your m.dot website. And I remember now, and this was an interesting point, that for some reason, on the first load, that version didn't load. So just to, again, make sure that the way you've set up your redirects, and normally, there are a couple of options you could do here. It's totally fine to have a separate website for mobile, for example, on a subdomain like m.dot. That's great. Google sees that. Google understands that. Now, what you really need to be careful with is how you send people from one version to the other. And there are different ways of doing this. Basically, you want to be looking at the user agent coming in. You want to see what sort of a user agent it is. What you really need to make sure is that the list of user agents that you're focusing on is comprehensive and covers all the devices, so you do need to pay attention to that. So, for example, you're not forgetting to redirect iOS users, right, or Android users or something like this. And really read up on this and cover your bases. We have quite a bit of information about this on the developer's website, developersgoogle.com. So make sure that you got this thing going correctly, because here now with the redirect, we actually see a website displayed quite differently. See, all your text has become larger, the buttons are larger, everything is much more clear to see. It's optimized for the mobile experience, right? There's not that much here in addition that you would need to do. And in fact, we haven't actually shown the guys this tool yet, so maybe it's now it's a good time. If you took this web page and you put it into our mobile-friendly testing tool, right, which lives at g.co/mobile-friendly, you would also see that it passes all our assessments and does it correctly. An interesting thing here to do would be not just to put your m.dot website, but also to put your main homepage to make sure that the redirects are also followed correctly by our tools. I'm not going to wait for this to finish to load. We're going to get a nice green result saying that everything is fine and everything is working. Oh, actually, no, it loaded already, right? So great. We see the correct version here. We're saying awesome, this page is mobile friendly. And an interesting point here is that we see that a few resources have been blocked, and these are mainly images that I'm seeing that are being blocked from crawling by robots of different, well, in this particular case, by Google's robots. It doesn't really make much sense. It makes sense for Google Ad Services JavaScript to be blocked, and maybe for JavaScripts of other ad networks and analytic tools. But you blocking your own resources on your own website, such as images or the scripts and the tables that you use to create the content on your site or to display the content on your website, doesn't really make that much sense. In this particular case, it doesn't harm the evaluation, but it might. So I might want to take a look at your robots.txt and make sure that the stuff that you are disallowing from being crawled actually makes sense, right? And is there for a good reason and not just because it's a legacy from some previous site manager who put it there for no particular good reason. What I would definitely address here is that, again, this is not a financial services website unlike the other one, but this is a service provision website. So here you're definitely engaging users and trying to get them to conduct a transaction, potentially a financial transaction or a commercial transaction, pay you money, basically. So it is really a good idea to start thinking about implementing transport layer security, which will then allow your website to display on HTTPS protocol. It can be free. You can pay for a certificate, but there are also free certificates. Google does not care if your certificate is paid or free as long as it's valid. And there's plenty of online services that allow you both to get a certificate and to check the validity of your certificate. So again, I'm making a big point of this because it was a big thing on desktop. It is becoming an even bigger thing on mobile. More and more of our additional features, more and more of our, and not only our, but also other internet companies and internet services features start depending on secure connections. So rather now than later would be a good time to switch. If you are switching, think about doing it in stages. Think about switching parts of your website first to see that everything works great. Remember to tell Google about the switch in Search Console, and there are simple ways of doing that. And maybe also an important thing to keep in mind is don't do this at the height. For example, now would be a really bad time to do this because you're probably making a lot of sales during the summertime. Do it during a quieter period, right? When any changes in your impressions or your clicks would not be so harmful to your business. This is one of the first websites out of all the ones that we've seen where we also get a multi-language user experience. And interestingly enough, in your mobile version, actually it's not available, right? We cannot really switch into English from the homepage. But so maybe there was a conscious choice by you, I guess, fair enough. That's also quite valid. But if you go back to your desktop experience, right, and just reload this for a second, hopefully it reloads. Oh, you dropped us a cookie, so now we're going to stay on this version. So, okay, so that's an interesting choice that you do there with the cookie dropping based on the user agent. It's not maybe always the best choice, but fair enough, it's not particularly helpful. But anyway, so going back to your desktop experience, we see that here in the top right, very, very small writing. It's quite hard to see for those who want it, but it is possible to see the English version of the website. And I presume this is because you do get some traffic out from outside of Bulgaria, and if you go to Search Console and check your search queries analysis report, which is one of the first reports you see on the dashboard on the home page, you will be able to actually see how many users, how many impressions you get in particular countries and how many clicks you get from those countries. That's quite interesting, in particular for your website. I saw that there's quite a bit of stuff happening for you in the United States, in Germany, in the United Kingdom. So definitely it makes sense to offer this experience in English, in particular since I'm seeing that you're partnering with big international holiday companies. One thing to keep in mind that helps Google tremendously to understand the multi-language structure of your website is to implement something that is called hreflang markup. Let me show you for a second a bit of source code. Don't get very scared by this. It's not that scary. One thing I'm looking for here ignore everything else. But one thing I'm looking for here is one thing I'm not finding. It's the hreflang markup. On the other hand, if we look at this link at the top, right, that says Bulgarsky, right, which leads users to your Bulgarian homepage, we can inspect that element, right, quickly and actually see the code for that element. There it is. It's quite simple, right? So it's the title is Bulgarsky. It's a no-follow link. There's no particular reason to keep it no-follow, by the way. And there's a relative URL, right? So it says that the Bulgarian version lives here, right? So you omit the name of the web page. That's fine. That's great to do. And then you give us the address. It's l/bg.html. So what you want to do is in the code for your website, you want to add to that a tag to this link. You want to tag this link with an hreflang, with an attribute, in this case Bulgarian, right? And do the same, but reverse on your Bulgarian page, saying, hey, this is the link to my English version with the attribute English. This is already understandable to Google, but the hreflang markup really helps us to understand the multilingual structure of your website. And we're going to see a couple of other websites, in particular, the ones in Czech Republic and Slovakia, which have Czech and Slovak versions, but also other ones in the region which cater to a multilingual audience. This is a really neat small thing for you to do to help Google understand what you guys are trying to achieve. Let's take a look if you have any questions for us about that. Okay, well, not at the moment. So maybe we can move on to the next one. And we have, it would be great if you, we have a third person with us.
Yeah, we have a third person with us, and
it's
the coding website, basically.
Oh, yes,
Learn
yes.
to code.sk.
First of all, thank you.
It's a great one.
It's a great website, and also the thing about this is that we really don't have enough content in languages other than English dedicated to creating web experiences, be it Slovak, Czech, Russian, Hindi, Indonesian, whatever you like. So first of all, thank you for doing this for our your Slovak and Czech users. This is tremendous. This is awesome. So keep it up. Let's take a look at what we're actually seeing here. Let's go. Let's reload. Well, okay, so first two easy questions is that same points, also two easy issues to look at. Same points as for the previous website. Think about implementing HTTPS. Think about, because you got both the Slovak and the Czech version, and from what I've seen, they pretty much mirror each other. Think about using hreflang as well, and you guys should know how to do that. Also, I'm pointing at the screen. I realize you don't actually see me right now, do you? But anyway, I'm pointing at you. The one additional thing that I'd like you guys to consider is that I've mentioned Search Console already before, maybe a couple of times today. It's a great set of tools, reports, and feedback options for website owners, web designers, SEO agencies, and so on, to track the performance of the website in Google search. It also allows you to adjust certain things and to tell Google a couple of things about your website. Recently, we've introduced a great new feature that allows you to track the performance in search of sets of web resources. So, for example, in your case, you not only have a Slovak and a Czech version, but I've also noticed that you have, well, actually, in fact, let's even just stop there for a second. You have both the Slovak and the Czech versions of your website living on parallel domains. So you have the Slovak website on SK, and you have the Czech website on CZ, right? And they're very similar. Also, side note, we are doing a reasonable job understanding between Czech and Slovak, but given that those languages can sometimes be very similar, and you know it yourself, there's a lot of words that are almost the same or the same, please help us a little bit with hreflang there. But for you on the Search Console side, you can join both of them as a set and then track their performance. So impressions, clicks, CTR, positions, impressions from different countries on different devices and so on together, right? So you can still do it separately and you can still look at the individual performance. But I think particularly in your case, it would be really, really interesting to see and compare. Like, how many Czech users are coming to the Slovak website? How many Slovak users are coming to the Czech website? Are they aware? What queries are they using? Are we, on the other hand, understanding correctly the queries for your website in Czech and Slovak? Are we sending users to the correct version of your website? So you can see a lot of that from the joint report for both of your websites. And if you see problems in that area, and if stuff doesn't look right to you, and if you notice irregularities in that, I do encourage you to visit one of our webmaster forums. Probably the English one would be great for you, but I mean, you can try our Polish website our Polish forum if you speak that language, or maybe just take a look at the ones that we have available on google.com/webmasters. And you know, but if on the other hand, if you don't see any irregularities, you just keep using that information. I would find it really, really interesting for you and others watching us today who have either different versions of their website, like www and non-www, or a separate mobile domain, or any other combination of websites that you'd like to track. Do avail yourself of this new ability to track sets of websites together.
Sekundu?
Yeah, hi. I think we have a question.
No, it was just a mistake.
Okay, no worries. Well, but I mean, if you do have a question of any kind, any of you guys with us now, feel free to jump in at any point. We have like about a good half hour more left. Nobody else joined, so I think we're just going to go through the list of websites we had.
Let's do that. We have actually have two people here that can join us on the hangout.
I mean, if they're watching us.
Let's do the list. Yeah, of course. I mean, they are watching us.
Yeah. So right.
We can start with the lovely travel agencies that we have. We have one from Romania.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let me turn on the screen sharing again. Let me turn screen share on again, and is it the Marea? I have no
There's
idea.
the Marea one. They offer in various package tours and charter flights as well to all the sunny destinations.
Yes. No, but it's sunny in Dublin. We don't want to go anywhere. So a couple of points quickly already that have been mentioned before. Take a look at using TLS. Right, you are a commercial website, you are conducting transactions, you need to have your users on a secure connection. You do have some issues with the speed with which your homepage and other pages on your website load, so throw it into Page Speed Insights and get those recommendations, and maybe even verify your site. You already have your site verified in Search Console, so jump in there and get a report on the, on some of the issues with the blocked resources or the mobile friendliness of your pages, if the speed figures in any of that. One thing that we haven't covered that much before and is interesting is you obviously have a lot of images on your website, right? Great pictures from holiday destinations, some are original, some are maybe taken from somewhere else. In any case, this is awesome content. This is, in fact, in your vertical, I believe, content that kind of makes or breaks sometimes a website, because people make these decisions, well, sometimes like me, in a robotic fashion, just going through the cities in an alphabetical order. But a lot of people really want to feel the place that they're going to first. And for example, me seeing this picture of the beautiful beach and the sunset already kind of makes me want to go there a little bit. So it's great to have this content on your website. It's even better if you make this content available and understandable for Google crawler bots, right? The ones that come to your website and try to understand what is it that you have. One of the great things to do here is to take a look at three things. First of all, make sure that the names of the images that you use have some sort of a meaning. We'll be fine crawling them even if they're just called 1, 2, 3, XYZ, but it'll be much easier if, for example, for this image we would have, I don't know, wherever it is, it's can't see exactly what it is, with some sort of a last-minute offer, I don't know, last-minute offer, beach destination, something like this, right? Just something describing it more or less in a way that would allow us to understand it and then show it in image search results. Another thing you could do is definitely use alt descriptions for your images. So if we do the same simple thing, right? If we inspect this picture, we'll see exactly what it is called, right? And it's, in fact, here it's last minute literal Romania. That's great. And it does have an alt description, which is Charter Avion Grecia for some reason. Interesting, I don't know, is it particularly relevant? Is it to Greece? I didn't dig in much deeper into this particular one. You might want to do that, and the rest of you watching us as well, take a look at what are you using as image names, take a look at what are you using as alt descriptions. Do they make sense? Are they really describing what's going on with the image? Would they allow Google to drive the correct impressions and traffic to this particular image. And finally, not least of all, especially those of you who already have Search Console verified, those of you who don't, please verify. You can use it to submit your sitemap, right? Your XML sitemap. Let me show you what it looks like. So I hope you already have it and it's in the regular place. Normally it looks like this. That's the standard place to find the sitemap, if you type it right as well. So it is there, it does exist, and it is likely that Google knows about this this file, but just to make doubly sure that Google does know about this file, this is basically just a list of all the URLs on your website, and gets updated by your CMS automatically, so it lets us know about any changes in your content, about any new content. It is great to just upload this to Search Console, and in Search Console you can do this with a couple of clicks of the button. Just let us know where it lives. We'll make sure that we know about it, come back to it regularly, and make sure that we know about all your new and fresh content. For sites like yours in particular, where new stuff and offers, last-minute offers are coming through all the time, and new URLs get created, definitely there will be something we'd recommend hiding. Moving on to Ecolines.
Yep,
what are
it's
those
another
guys doing?
travel website. It's basically they also sell
People are trying to sell us
hotels.
something, right?
Yeah, there's a three travel websites, you know. So it's a hotel tours and flights around Bulgaria and abroad.
Right. So we have a couple of interesting things here to take a look at. First of all, good job with the HTTPS connection. Good choice, well done. Second of all, you've chosen a .NET domain for your website, which is great. Absolutely no problems with that. Having a top-level TLD is absolutely not an issue. Be aware that what you can do is you can help Google understand the structure of your website, so the different language options that you have on your website. I think you have English, and you can hope somehow switch on the website. Maybe not so easily, but that's actually not so bad, because I mean, you've detected that I'm coming from Dublin, so it makes total sense to show me English content. Point is, you can verify not just the home page of your website. If you have, you can, well, in fact, in any case, you can verify any subsection and any subfolder of your website with Search Console. And if you have your site set up like you do with a name and a .tld, you can also target subsections of your website to particular regions. So you can tell Google, this subsection of my website is intended for English users, this subsection is intended for German users, Bulgarian users, whatever. We can live without it. We'll try our best to understand what you guys are doing anyway, but it does give us a hint, and it does help a little bit. What else to say? I've seen, oh yeah, and we had this question quite a bit. So you guys were not very active in submitting your sort of questions about your websites in advance. I hope as you get more used to this format, we'll start getting more questions from future submissions. But you guys did mention to us, and many of you did, some of the queries that you would like to rank for. And the trend that I've noticed when looking at these queries that you suggested was a lot of them were quite longish. 3 or 4 words, maybe longer, maybe not so obvious, even if they're short. And I'm kind of thinking, okay, so what are you trying to do here? It seems like you're saying, oh my God, this is really lucrative. This is what I would normally get through my AdWords Keywords Planner, and this is normally the kind of stuff that I would buy AdWords for, maybe. And this is what I would like to rank for. It's one approach. It's definitely a way in which you could think about organic search. One thing I would try doing, and maybe see if that helps you as well, is try thinking about the other side of the coin. In the case of this website, and I hope you're watching us, you have, and other websites today also do have as well, quite a few what we call navigational queries. So people are aware of your brand name and are searching for you already in Google with your name, right? They associate the name of your service with the service itself. So that, for example, your users know, or maybe friends of your users know, that Ecolines is a place you would go if you want to get discount tickets, international tickets, comfortable tickets, and so on. And that is something really, really precious. That is something a lot of businesses offline and online really struggle to do, to get this sort of brand recognition, to get this sort of user awareness. So don't knock it and capitalize on this. What I would do is, in fact, is go back to Search Console, look into that search queries analysis report, and try to understand which pages rank for those brand queries. under what circumstances, so mobile, desktop, maybe some other, build some graphs, take a look at the data, maybe really dig deep into that. And what sort of experience are you offering those users, right? So they're coming to you looking for your brand name. Are you offering them the correct, shortest path from point of entry to conversion on your website? In this particular case, I think you already are doing a great job, right? You have the buy ticket button straight there, up and center. First thing I see when this loads, boom, it's first thing that I see on the web page, even before everything else loads. Then you have your special offers right up there. So these are really good practices that I would really encourage other websites of this kind to adopt. Think about how do you convert people who don't just randomly come to your website and whom you still need to convince to work with you. But how do you convert people who already know your brand and want to see your website for a particular service? How do you get them from entering to converting as easily and as quickly as possible? You do have a couple of technical issues that are probably worth taking a look at. Oh, and well done. Actually, I've seen that you had some hreflang issues, but you actually fixed them recently. So well done there. And if other guys have questions how to fix this, maybe ask this guys. Just kidding. But what you still do seem to have here is that if we try to load the www version, this is the last time I checked, of your website, yeah, it still seems to be the case. You see how we stayed there? I changed the address to the www.ecolines.net, and nothing changed. So maybe take a look at it. Remember at the beginning of our meeting, one of our session, I mentioned how one of the guys has actually set it up correctly. The correct thing here would be to redirect the users either to one version or the other. Like pick one, set up a 301 redirect, let Google know about it through Search Console, and just stick to it, to avoid any additional confusion. And another point, and maybe here we can take a look at that, and that could be interesting for some people as well, another small technical element. I'm not sure, hopefully your technical specialist is going to be looking at this as well. If not, show them the video, send them the link. If you look at the robots.txt file for your website, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff in here, right? You seem to be, so you have a lot of language directories. You have Bulgarian and Belarusian and Estonian, Latvian, and so on and so on and so on. And within each of them, a whole bunch of technical subfolders are excluded. You have the modules and you have the includes. So that looks like maybe a WordPress-based website. So you have a lot of those familiar themes, scripts. A lot of stuff is disallowed. So a lot of stuff on your website, our robots, actually, and robots of other search engines cannot reach. This, up until a point, might not be a problem. But at some point, it might cause us issues in understanding what are you trying to do. So if there are resources on your website, or if the way your page displays depends on scripts or tables available inside one of those directories, we might not be able to understand that. And if we're not able to understand it, if we're not able to render the content of your web page, we might not be able to rank you for that content. Not because it's some sort of a penalty of any kind, but just because we don't see it. Right? So double check again. Why exactly are you disallowing all that stuff? And if there are no compelling reasons, I would revisit it and maybe stop doing it.
Let's move to the next website.
Right, Kitari.
Yeah, it's basically online music instrument store. So on anything from guitars and drums to lighting and DJ equipment.
HTTPS for you guys as well. We've mentioned before having an images sitemap. You're an e-commerce shop with a lot of really rich image content. Please let us know about it in the best way possible. In your case, like in the case before, we saw a web page where image names made some sense. In yours is one of the cases where a lot of the images are just letters and numbers. Revisit that, especially because you guys specialize, and it looks like from the stuff you're selling, it's not, some of it is really specialist stuff, really interesting brand names that I have no idea what they are, but specialists probably do. Introduce those names. People looking for particular brands and particular models will be finding your stuff and images and saying, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. That's exactly that cool guitar that I saw at my friend's place, and I want one. Yeah. So don't knock that. And one of the, probably for you, an interesting recommendation that could also be applied to other websites, and we've seen that with the coding website, the whole Czech-Slovak idea. One thing I haven't mentioned is that not only you can use sets in Search Console to view your websites together, what you also can do is when you're implementing hreflang, right? So far we've only been talking about hreflang within a website, right? So the different sections of your website have different languages, and you can link between them and let Google know about this. What I haven't mentioned is that you can use this across domains. So it doesn't matter that your, for example, that your Slovak version, and if I'm not mistaken, it's just this, lives on .sk and your Czech version is on .cz. That's fine. That's great. You can, as long as you link between them, which I think you do, you can annotate that link the same way with hreflang, and that will be a great help for us to understand the relationships and the connections between this website, in particular in the context of the language of the users coming. Moving on, since we have about 15 minutes left.
Yeah. So the next one is from Hungary. It's terracotta, and they are doing flooring from inside and out.
I don't want to be doing flooring. I want to go on a holiday. But okay, maybe one thing we could do. No, but that's a good idea. Like, so you take a holiday, right? You go somewhere, and at the same time you get somebody else to update your whole flooring.
To do a whole makeover, yeah.
So you guys, you should partner up with some of those holiday websites maybe and do some sort of a deal on this. Maybe.
So it's indoor flooring, decking, outdoor flooring, anything.
The same, and I'll keep mentioning this until you get tired of it. Commercial websites, guys, switch to HTTPS. Wherever, you know, it's important for everybody, even if you're just a traveling blog. But if you're buying and selling stuff, definitely use secure connections. You've mentioned one of the queries, and let's take a look at this. We haven't done this before, so let's take a look at this now. Let's take a look at what your website looks like in search results. Right? So we can do it. If you haven't done this before, it's a very simple search operator you can use called site. Right? So you do site semicolon, or sorry, site colon, or the 2 dots. Just do your website's name, and you get a picture, a sample of what your website looks like in search results. A couple of disclaimers here, right? You have a number at the top that some people mistakenly focus on. It says about 5,000 results in some sort of seconds. Don't pay attention to that number. It really means very little in this context. If you want to see more or less the number of the web pages indexed from your website, go to Search Console, indexing status, you'll get the real number there, right? So this one, don't really mind it. Another point. So the way the search result looks, I hope most of you know, but let's just run through this very quickly. The top blue thing at the top is the title. Then the smaller green thing below that is the actual URL, and the grayish, sort of dark gray thing even below that is the description. How are titles and descriptions formed? Titles and descriptions are formed based on a number of signals. So we look at some of the stuff that exists on your page itself. You have the title tag in your head section. You have a description right there as well. We also look at things like headings on your page, just the text on your page. We look at the links coming to your page. We look at a whole bunch of other stuff. We look at the query itself. And because we look at the query itself, not always looking at the site column query allows you to see what a user might see for a particular query, because it will depend quite a bit. So you might want to see, actually check in your Search Console which queries your website ranks for, and then use those queries and then see what descriptions and titles you have. But this is just to give you a sort of an idea of how to check and what to look out for in any case. Looking at the descriptions for your website, you can see here, for example, that a lot of them are the same, right? You can see that for a lot of the pages, it's just the same sort of list of words, which I presume just coming from your menu, right, that we pick up from the top of your page, and that's all. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like, and we're going to check in a second for a real query, for a real user query, but you might imagine that this is not the most compelling experience on the web, on the search results, to draw you, unless the user already knows your brand and wants to visit your particular website. They might go, look, I don't really know what I'm getting from this page, right? I'm not really sure. There's a list of words here, but what is the proposition? What is the value proposition here? So you might want to think about your descriptions a little bit in the same way that you think about your descriptions in your ads. They are attracting the user to click on your link as opposed to the links of everybody else. So pay them some love, you know, give them some attention. One of the queries that you guys seem to be interested in was this. I presume it's some sort of a brand that people would know. Oops, no. What was it? Did I type it wrong? No, I didn't type it wrong. No. We don't seem to be finding anything in the site search, but that's also fine. We can just do this, right? We'll just do your. You can also do that, right? You can just do your site name and a particular word that interests you. And you will probably find stuff sort of both from your website and related to this word. I'm not seeing exactly what I wanted to see, but basically I think when looking through your website in preparation for this, I found about 4 different pages related to this word. Again, there might be reasons for this. I confess I don't speak Hungarian, number one, so I had to rely on Google Translate a lot, and that might not always be the best option. But take another look and see, does this really make sense? Do you really want to be having several pages dedicated to a particular product, as opposed to consolidating the user experience to just a few? There might be great business reasons for having 1 million different landing pages for the same product. If that's what you're doing consciously, great. On the other hand, if that's not a decision that you made on purpose and it's just something that randomly happened, that might be a thing you want to revisit, just to consolidate stuff a little bit, not to spread yourself too thinly, in particular on queries, on products that you're really interested in.
So basically we have another website. It's ace.sk. It's from Slovakia again. And this is marketing agency. Well, not marketing agency. It's a marketing and web development agency as well. You have it just up there. AWTE.
AWTE?
Yeah.
Let me open it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me open it.
So the guys are working on web development, online marketing as well, including Google AdWords, some social media as well. They have a very impressive portfolio of the current clients. Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look. All right, you guys build web pages, so let's talk about yours. The first great thing, obviously, is that you have HTTPS implemented, but, and then Graham, it's really awesome that we're taking a look at this example now. You will see, if you open this website, that the little, whatever it is, the little icon to the left of the website, of the web page, doesn't turn green. That means there's something going on with that certificate. That it's there, something's weird. So I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing right now as well. If you click on that, it says that your connection to the site is private, but someone on the network might be able to change the look of the page, right? So you want to, again, I'm not going to recommend any particular service, just Google sort of HTTPS certificate validation services online, throw your certificate in there, and take a good look at what's going on, right? And why is it not considered to be a proper certificate? Like, what's wrong with this, right? Really, it's awesome that you thought about implementing this, and that's already like 90% of the job done. Just make sure you got the 10% of it done as well, and that your certificate is working as intended. There's an interesting thing going on as well. I'm not going to jump into the entire technical details of that, but again, you can do that. You can verify this by various means. You can see some of that in the Search Console. You can see some of that using developer tools. When a web page loads in developer tools, you can click on Network right here, right, and just reload the page, and you'll see everything that loads as the page does. And then at the bottom, you have a console with a bunch of error reports. Let me make it slightly bigger so you see this stuff. I mean, probably on your screen still looks a bit small. You can easily check this on your own computer. You see there's a big red cross warning about mixed content. Right? That the page itself was loaded over HTTPS, but it requested an insecure style sheet. Right? And here, for example, you are referring to some Google API's fonts. I'm not entirely sure. I would hope that these are available over an HTTPS connection. So maybe just take a look into updating that. And then I also see that you are requesting some resources from your own website in the WP content upload section, right? And that's an image, which is the logo. You probably just haven't updated that, right? Since before making the switch from HTTP to HTTPS, you probably just kept that link to your logo and maybe something else. So I see there's an action up there as well. And it just stayed like that. So the general recommendation for all websites, in particular for websites on a secure connection, is use so-called relative URLs, so protocol and even website relative URLs. So that's the safest way to ensure that all your links always go to the default version of your website, which is secure. And avoiding mistakes like this will also actually make sure that we treat your website as properly secure, as properly serving over HTTPS. There is another issue that we haven't discussed for other websites before, and it's probably something in particular for mobile users, but also for all your users, including desktop users, a very important thing to take a look at. Let's just enter some gibberish, right, a non-existent address into the address bar, and see what happens. And we see that we start to load some stuff, and then we ended up on your home page, right? That's weird. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to go to an existing page. Imagine somebody was linking to a particular product on your website that you no longer offer a service. Or imagine somebody just made a small mistake in the way they're linking to your website, and the user clicks on that and lands on your home page. Or they land on this home page from our Google search results that were supposed to lead to a particular deep URL. It will be a really confusing experience, right? It is also a reasonably confusing experience for our robots who get all these different URLs that all end up having, in the end, the same content because you're showing us the content on your homepage. It can cause all sorts of different issues. We're not going to go into all the particular details of this. But the recommendation here would be set up proper 404 pages. Make sure that your server returns a 404 error, and at the same time that the 404 error returned to the users is handy. It contains, maintains your website's design, contains links to your homepage, so the users are aware that this particular link was incorrect. And in fact, if it's another website owner linking to you, they can correct the link to the right one. But users can still continue navigating on your website. So that would be the big recommendation here, that they can look at how your 404 pages are set up. Let's do maybe one more website before we shut it down.
So let's choose the one.
Let's do the recipe one.
The recipe one? Where is it from?
The EU.eu site. I'm not sure where it is from, but it's very tasty. It's krevetka.
Oh, yeah. It's from Latvia.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's a recipe website. And yeah, basically what guys do, I don't think they have any commercial content as such. There is no transaction-based pages, but this is just a recipe website where you can find a lot of Asian, from what I can see on the main page, a lot of yummy recipes that you can also save and use later on, I guess.
Now, the reason I wanted to take a look at this website are two. One, I'm getting hungry. The other is that...
From chapter 1.
All right. The other is that we can also, I want to say, might look like we had a bit of a bias for Czech and Slovak-based websites. Yeah. There was all selected randomly, but it looks like our Czech and Slovak guests were a lot more active than everybody else and submitted a lot of websites, so it's probability. Next time, guys, give us more websites from your places. But here, hopefully, for all of you, this is language agnostic and you're just getting useful advice that you can implement in any case. And what I wanted to talk about here, because this was the only recipe website in the whole selection, it gives us a great opportunity to focus on a couple of things that we haven't had a chance to talk about before. There's a thing called structured markup, and I'm not going to go into all the details about it, but you might have seen this before. When you're looking for, here, for example, we have Japanese noodles, right? So let's take a quick look at Google search results. For Japanese noodles, and I'm doing this in English so it's easy and fast, and you get to take a look at what comes up. You see all this, potential things that could happen. Right? We have an up top, a special card with a lot of really in-depth information and an image. And down below, we have recipes with user ratings, right, and cooking times. And sometimes here you can also get ingredients, and you can get all sorts of interesting additional information that Google can surface straight in the search results using structured markup on your website. So what I would do, what I would recommend you to do, is Google rich snippets and structured data and see how it can be implemented on your website, in particular for recipes. And the things that you would definitely be able to surface are your images, right? Especially from what I've seen on the website, a lot of the stuff you've done looks like yourselves, which is great. This is organic, unique sort of content that nobody else has and really draws people into wanting to interact with your content. So you will be able to surface that directly in the search results, and in particular for mobile users, you know how it is. Like, you don't have that much space on the screen, and seeing something yummy and tasty when you're looking for a recipe standing in your kitchen, where you're not gonna drag your 42-inch monitor into your kitchen, unless I don't know what you're doing. But you know, you'd normally be there on your maybe smaller screen, a smartphone maybe. Definitely want to be really up there close to your users there. And the other thing, you've heard us mention this quite a lot today, the Search Console bit. This is one of the few websites that wasn't verified in Search Console, alongside maybe a couple of others. So I'm very happy to see that the majority of you are aware of this combination of tools that we offer you. Those of you who are not, verification takes a couple of minutes. It's really easy. If you have some sort of question about it, you can always come to our forums and ask us, but hopefully you'll fly through this. So do avail yourself of it, and if you implement rich snippets on your website, not only will they show up in a great way to our users in search results and to your potential visitors as well, you'd also be able to track both any errors that might emerge, but also the usefulness of these results through Search Console. Right. I think this is largely all that we have time for today, and all that we wanted to talk about. So, you know, unless the guys who are here with us
Have any questions?
we might start saying goodbye.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for submitting your website. Thank you so much for being with us today. Hopefully it was useful for you. Hopefully you learned something and you will, most importantly, use it in the future.
We'll be sending follow-ups.
We will.
And hopefully you'll be providing us some feedback. We do look forward to it. So today we were here with you from the Google's office in Dublin. It was Julia.
And Andre.
And we wish you a great rest of the day, and see you next time at the next mSiteLab.
Goodbye.